My mother's last words weren't, "I love you." They weren't, "I'm proud of you." They weren't even my name. Her last words, the final sentence she ever spoke on this earth, were about the man she had called useless for 12 years. My husband, Daniel. The man my parents refused to meet at our wedding. The man they pretended didn't exist for over a decade. The man my father once said would drag me into poverty and misery. That man worked 3 jobs for 4 months straight, 80-hour weeks, no days off, no vacations, no complaints. Why? So I could afford to fly across the country and hold my dying mother's hand. So I could be there when she took her last breath. So I could hear those final words, the words that broke my heart and healed it at the same. Time. She looked at me with those pale blue eyes, the ones I inherited, the ones that were losing their light. She squeezed my hand with whatever strength she had left, and she whispered, "Tell Daniel I was wrong. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him. He's the best thing that ever happened to you, and I missed it. I missed all of it." She died 14 minutes later, and I'm still trying to figure out how to live with everything that happened between us. Before I tell you this story, I need you to do something. Hit subscribe, right now. Because this isn't just a story about parents and husbands and grudges. This is a story about what love really looks like when everything else is stripped away. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is. I want to know who's here with me tonight. And type 12 years in the comments if you've ever gone that long without speaking to someone you love. Because that's how long my parents and I were silent. 12 years. And I'll never get those years back. Now let me take you back to the beginning. To a small town in South Carolina, to a girl who thought she knew what love was, and to the day she met a man who would change everything. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, the kind of place where everyone knows your business, where church on Sunday is mandatory, and where family reputation is everything. My parents, Robert and Linda Mitchell, were what you might call pillars of the community. My father owned a successful insurance agency. My mother ran every charity event, every school fundraiser, every holiday parade. They were the couple everyone wanted to be, and I was their only child. The pressure to be perfect started before I could walk. Dance lessons at 3, piano at 5, debate team, honor roll, homecoming court. I did everything right, everything they asked. I wore the right clothes. I dated the right boys. I got into the right college, Duke University, my father's alma mater. I was the Mitchell daughter. And Mitchell daughters didn't disappoint. Let me tell you about the boys my parents approved of. There was Tyler Hampton, son of the Hampton banking family. We dated junior year of high school. He was handsome, wealthy, and completely wrong for me. But my parents loved him. Now that's a good match, my mother would say. The Hamptons and the Mitchells. Can you imagine? Tyler and I broke up after 6 months. He cheated on me with a girl from a neighboring town. But even then, my mother blamed me. "What did you do to push him away, Emma? Boys like Tyler don't just leave." Then there was Preston Cole, college boyfriend. His father was a state senator. Preston was going to be a lawyer, then a politician, then maybe president. This is the one, my father said after our first dinner together. Preston Cole. Now there's a man with a future. Preston and I dated for 2 years. Everyone expected us to get engaged. My parents had already started planning the wedding. But Preston was controlling, jealous. He didn't like when I talked to other men. He didn't like when I went out without him. He didn't like when I disagreed with him about anything. One night, during a fight about nothing important, he grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises. I ended it the next day. My parents didn't speak to me for a month. "You're throwing away your future," my mother said. Preston Cole. Do you know how many girls would kill to be with Preston Cole? He hurt me, Mom. All couples fight, Emma. You need to toughen up. That's when I started to realize something was very wrong with my family's definition of love. I graduated from Duke with a nursing degree. It wasn't what my parents wanted. They'd hoped I'd marry rich and never need to work, but I loved it. I loved helping people. I loved making a difference. I got a job at a hospital in Charleston, lived in a small apartment downtown. Started to build a life that was mine, not theirs. And then, on a random Tuesday night in September, I walked into a coffee shop and met Daniel Collins. He was sitting in the corner, reading a book. Something about history, he was always reading history books. Brown hair, a little messy, brown eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Flannel shirt, worn jeans, work boots. He was not the kind of man my parents would approve of. But when he looked up and saw me standing there, trying to decide what to order, he smiled. And something inside me shifted. "The lavender latte," he said. "Excuse me? You look like a lavender latte kind of person. It's their best drink. Trust me." I laughed. "And how would you know what kind of person I am?" "I don't," he said, "but I'm hoping you'll sit down so I can figure it out." I should have walked away. I should have ordered my drink and left. That's what the Mitchell daughter would have done. But I sat down, and we talked for 4 hours. Daniel Collins was nothing like the men I'd dated before. He grew up in rural Georgia. His father was a mechanic. His mother was a waitress. They didn't have much money, but they had love, real love. The kind where you eat dinner together every night and say, "I love you" before bed. Not because it's expected, but because it's true. Daniel had worked his way through community college, then State University. He had a degree in history that he couldn't do much with, so he worked construction during the day and took classes at night to become an electrician. "It's honest work," he said. "I like building things. I like seeing something I made with my own hands." He wasn't rich. He wasn't connected. He had no family name, no inheritance, no guaranteed future. But when he talked about his parents, how they'd been married for 35 years, how his father still brought his mother flowers every Friday, how they danced in the kitchen to old country songs, I saw something I'd never seen in my own home. Happiness. Simple, ordinary, beautiful happiness. I need to pause here and explain something about Daniel. He wasn't useless. He was never useless. That word, that terrible, dismissive word, came from my parents, and it said everything about them and nothing about him. Daniel worked harder than anyone I knew. He woke up at 5 a.m. every day. He came home exhausted every night, but he always had energy for me. He always asked about my day. He always listened. He wasn't flashy. He didn't buy expensive gifts. But on our 1-month anniversary, he made me dinner in his tiny apartment. Pasta with homemade sauce. Candles on the table. A playlist of songs that reminded him of me. "I can't take you to fancy restaurants," he said, "but I can make you feel special. That's what matters, right?" No one had ever made me feel that special. Not Tyler, not Preston, not anyone my parents had ever approved of. I knew, by the end of that night, that I was falling in love with Daniel Collins, and I knew my parents were going to hate him. I was right. 6 months into our relationship, I finally brought Daniel home to meet them. I told him to wear his nicest shirt. I coached him on what to say, what topics to avoid, how to handle my father's interrogation. "Just be yourself," I said. "But maybe a more polished version of yourself." He laughed. "I'll try." We pulled up to my parents' house, the big colonial on Magnolia Drive, the one with the perfectly manicured lawn and the American flag flying by the door. I saw Daniel's face change. He looked at that house, at the 3-car garage, at the fountain in the front yard, and I could see him calculating. "This is where you grew up?" "Yeah. And I'm supposed to impress these people with my electrician's salary? They'll love you," I said. "They'll see what I see." I was so naive. The dinner was a disaster. My father asked Daniel where he went to school. When Daniel said Georgia State, my father nodded slowly, like someone had just told him a pet had died. "And what does your father do?" "He's a mechanic, sir. A mechanic." "Yes, sir. Best mechanic in 3 counties. People bring their cars from hours away because they trust his work." My father smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. It was the smile he used when dealing with people he considered beneath him. How? Quaint. My mother was worse. She asked about Daniel's 5-year plan. When he said he was finishing his electrician certification and hoped to start his own business someday, she looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "An electrician," she said. "How? Practical. The whole dinner was like that. Every answer Daniel gave was met with thinly veiled condescension. Every attempt he made at connection was rebuffed with polite coldness. By dessert, I could see Daniel shrinking. The confident, funny, warm man I loved was disappearing, replaced by someone who felt he didn't belong. I wanted to scream at my parents. I wanted to defend him. But old habits die hard, and the Mitchell daughter sat quietly, hoping it would get better. It didn't. After Daniel left that night, my parents sat me down in the living room. "Emma," my father said, "we need to talk about Daniel. I know tonight was awkward, but he's not right for you. You don't even know him. I know enough. I know he's a construction worker. He's going to be an electrician. Same thing. Blue collar. Manual labor. Emma, you come from a certain background. You have certain expectations. A man like Daniel cannot give you the life you deserve." "The life I deserve? What about the life I want?" My mother jumped in. "You don't know what you want. You're 26. You're infatuated. This will pass. It's not infatuation. I love him." They looked at each other. That look that said, "We know better." "Emma," my mother said carefully, "I'm going to say something, and I want you to hear it from a place of love. Daniel is useless. He has no prospects, no family, no future. If you stay with him, you'll wake up in 10 years with 2 kids, no money, and a husband who can't provide for you. That's not true." "It is true. I've seen it 100 times. Girls from good families falling for the nice guy who has nothing to offer. It always ends the same way. Daniel has everything to offer. He's kind. He's hardworking. He loves me." "Love doesn't pay the mortgage, Emma." I stood up. I was shaking. "I'm not going to stop seeing him." "Then you need to think very carefully about what you're choosing. Because if you stay with that man, you're choosing him over us. I need to stop here. Type toxic in the comments if you recognize what my parents were doing, because I didn't see it then. Not fully. I was too deep inside it, too conditioned to believe they knew best. But looking back, I can see it clearly. They weren't protecting me. They were controlling me. They had a vision of what my life should look like, and Daniel didn't fit that vision. It had nothing to do with his character, his kindness, his work ethic, his love for me. It had everything to do with money, status, what the neighbors would think. That's not love. That's ownership. And I was about to learn exactly how far they'd go to keep owning me. For the next year, I lived a double life. I saw Daniel in secret. We met at his apartment, at coffee shops across town, at places where my parents' friends wouldn't see us. I lied to my parents about where I was. I told them I was working extra shifts, hanging out with girlfriends, attending conferences. Meanwhile, Daniel and I fell deeper in love. He finished his electrician certification. He got a job at a good company. He started saving money, talking about the future, about us. One night, he cooked me dinner in his tiny apartment. After we ate, he took my hand and led me to the balcony, this tiny concrete square overlooking a parking lot. But somehow he'd made it magical with string lights and plants and 2 chairs he'd found at a thrift store. "Emma," he said, "I know I'm not rich. I know I can't give you the life your parents want for you, but I can give you this. I can promise to love you every single day. I can promise to work hard, to be there for you, to put you first, always." He got down on one knee. "Will you marry me?" I said yes, and I knew my life was about to explode. I told my parents the next week. I drove to their house on a Sunday afternoon. I wanted to do it in person. I thought maybe, if they could see how happy I was, they would accept it. Mom, Dad, Daniel and I are engaged. Silence. My mother's face went pale. My father's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry," my mother said. "I don't think I heard you correctly. We're engaged. We're going to get married." I wanted you to hear it from me before, no. That was my father. One word. Final. No? What do you mean, no? I mean, no. This isn't happening. You're not marrying that man, Dad. I'm 27 years old. You can throw your life away? Is that what you were going to say? Because that's exactly what you're doing. My mother started crying. Not sad crying, angry crying. "After everything we've done for you," she said. "After everything we've given you, This is how you repay us? This isn't about repaying you. This is about my life. Your life is our life, Emma. Do you understand that? When you marry someone, their reputation becomes yours. Their failures become yours. When people see you, they see us, and we will not be associated with some nobody electrician from Georgia. His name is Daniel, and he's going to be my husband. My father stood up. He walked to the window. When he turned back, his face was cold. If you marry him, don't come back to this house. Don't call us. Don't write to us. As far as we're concerned, you'll be dead to us. Dad. I mean it, Emma. Choose. Right now. Him or us. I looked at my mother. She was nodding. She agreed with every word. These were my parents, the people who raised me. The people I had spent my entire life trying to please. And they were telling me they would erase me from their lives if I married the man I loved. I choose him, I said. My father pointed to the feeble door. Then get out. I walked out of that house on March 15th, 2012. I didn't look back. I cried the entire drive to Daniel's apartment. By the time I got there, I could barely see through my tears. Daniel opened the door, took one look at me, and pulled me into his arms. They said no, didn't they? They said I'm dead to them. He held me tighter. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. If I were different, if I had more money, more status. Stop. This isn't your fault. This is who they are. This has always been who they are. I just didn't want to see it. We stood there for a long time, holding each other. What do you want to do? He asked. I want to marry you. I want to start our life. I want to move somewhere they've never heard of and never look back. Are you sure? Because once we do this, I've never been more sure of anything. We got married 3 months later. A tiny ceremony in a park in Georgia. Daniel's parents were there, crying happy tears. A few friends from work. No Mitchells. It was the happiest day of my life, and the saddest, because somewhere in Charleston, my parents were pretending I didn't exist. And even though I told myself I didn't care, a piece of my heart was missing. Let me tell you about the years that followed. Daniel and I moved to Denver. We wanted a fresh start, a place with no memories, no expectations, no shadows of the past. I got a job at a hospital there. Daniel started working for an electrical company. We rented a tiny apartment with a view of the mountains, and we were happy, really, truly happy. Not the kind of happiness my parents had, the kind that looks good in photos but feels empty inside. Real happiness. The kind where you laugh at stupid jokes and dance in the kitchen and fall asleep holding hands. Daniel's parents visited twice a year. His mom would cook huge meals and tell me stories about Daniel as a baby. His dad would fix things around our apartment and pretend not to notice when we couldn't afford to pay him back for the parts. They accepted me completely, not because of what I could give them, but because I made their son happy. You're family now. Daniel's mom said to me once. You were family the moment he looked at us and said, "This is the one. That's all that matters." I cried. Because that's all I'd ever wanted. To be family because of love, not obligation. I tried reaching out to my parents. In the beginning, I sent letters, Christmas cards, birthday notes, photos of our apartment, our life, our happiness. They never responded. After the first year, I stopped sending letters. After the second year, I stopped checking the mailbox for responses. By the third year, I had accepted that my parents meant what they said. I was dead to them. And slowly, painfully, I started to let them go. But here's the thing about grief. It doesn't follow a schedule. Some days I was fine. Some days I didn't think about them at all. And some days, usually holidays, or birthdays, or random Tuesday afternoons, the loss would hit me like a truck. I would see a mother and daughter shopping together and have to leave the store. I would hear someone mention Charleston and feel my chest tighten. I would wake up from dreams where my mother was holding me, telling me she loved me, and realize with crushing clarity that it wasn't real. Daniel saw all of it. He held me through every breakdown. He never complained. He never said, "Just get over it," or "They don't deserve your tears." He just held me. "I'm sorry." I would say, over and over. "I'm sorry I'm such a mess." "You're not a mess," he would say. "You're grieving. Your parents are alive, but you lost them anyway. That's allowed to hurt." That's when I knew I had made the right choice. Not because Daniel was perfect. He wasn't. He left his socks on the floor and forgot to take out the trash, and sometimes fell asleep during movies I wanted to watch. But he saw me. All of me. The broken parts. The grieving parts. The parts that still wanted my mother's approval even after everything. And he loved me anyway. I need to pause here. We're getting to the hard part of this story. The part that changed everything. But before we go there, I want to ask you something. What would you do if you found out a parent who rejected you was dying? Would you reach out? Would you stay away? Would you fly across the country to hold their hand, even if they had thrown you away like garbage? Type A if you would go. Type B if you would stay away. Type C if you honestly don't know. I didn't know either. Not until the choice was standing right in front of me. It was October 2024, 12 years since I'd walked out of my parents' house, 12 years of silence. I was 34. Daniel and I had been married for almost 12 years. We had a good life. A small house in a Denver suburb, 2 dogs, jobs we loved, friends who felt like family. I still thought about my parents, but less often. The sharp pain had faded to a dull ache that I barely noticed anymore. Then one Tuesday evening, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. South Carolina area code. "Hello? Is this Emma Collins? Emma Mitchell?" My heart stopped. No one had called me Emma Mitchell in over a decade. "Yes. Who is this?" "Emma, this is Reverend Thomas Walker, from First Baptist Church in Charleston. I don't know if you remember me. I remember you." He had performed my parents' vow renewal. I was 12. I had read a poem. "Emma, I'm calling with difficult news. Your mother. She's very sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors have given her weeks, maybe less." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. "What?" "I'm sorry to tell you this way. Your father asked me to call." He didn't think you would answer if you saw his number. He was right. "Emma, I know there's history here. I know your family has struggled. But your mother is asking for you. She's been asking for you for weeks. I couldn't breathe. She wants to see me. She wants to apologize, Emma. She says she doesn't want to die without making things right." I stood there in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, and 12 years of silence came crashing down on me. I don't know. I understand. Take some time. Talk to your husband. But don't take too long. She doesn't have much time left. He gave me the hospital information. He said he would pray for me. And then I was alone with the weight of an impossible decision. Daniel came home an hour later to find me sitting on the kitchen floor, crying. He dropped everything. He sat down next to me. He held my hand. "What happened?" "My mother is dying." He didn't say anything. He just listened as I told him about the call, about the cancer, about her asking for me. When I finished, he asked a simple question. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I thought I was over them. I thought I had moved on. But now it's real. Yes, now she's actually dying. And once she's gone, there's no chance to fix anything, ever." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "If you don't go," he said carefully, "can you live with that?" I thought about it, really thought about it. Could I live knowing my mother died asking for me, and I refused? Could I live with the regret of never knowing what she wanted to say? Could I live with what if for the rest of my life? "No," I said. "I can't." "Then you need to go." "But how? We have jobs. We have responsibilities. And flights to South Carolina aren't cheap. We don't have don't worry about that. Daniel, we have $400 in savings. A last-minute flight will cost a fortune, and I'd need time off work, and..." He took my face in his hands. Looked me in the eyes. "Emma, listen to me. You need to say goodbye to your mother. That's the only thing that matters. I will figure out the rest. How? I don't know yet, but I will. That's my job. Let me do my job." I thought he meant he would put it on a credit card, take out a loan, borrow from his parents. I didn't know what he was actually planning. I didn't find out until later. The next day, I talked to my supervisor at the hospital. I told her about my mother. She was more understanding than I expected. "Take the time you need," she said. "Family emergencies are family emergencies. We'll cover your shifts." But there was a catch. I could take the time, but it would be unpaid leave, and I didn't know how long I would be gone. When I got home, Daniel was on the phone in the other room. He hung up when he heard me come in. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Everything's fine." He kissed my forehead. "I found you a flight, Friday morning. Is that soon enough?" "Daniel, how did you—" "Don't worry about it. Your job is to pack. My job is everything else. I should have pushed harder. I should have asked more questions. But I was too overwhelmed with fear and grief and hope and dread to think clearly. So I packed. What I didn't know, what Daniel didn't tell me, was what he was doing too. Make that flight possible. He had gone to his boss that morning. He had asked for extra shifts, overtime, anything available. "I'll work nights," he said. "Weekends, holidays, whatever you have." His boss looked at him. "Daniel, you're already working full-time. You want to add nights on top of that?" "Yes. Can I ask why?" "My wife's mother is dying. We need money for her to go home, for flights and hotels and food. And I need to make sure she doesn't have to worry about any of it." His boss gave him the extra shifts, but it wasn't enough. So Daniel did something I still can't believe. He got a second job. Overnight stocking at a grocery store, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. That meant he would work his electrician job from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., then a few hours of sleep, then the stocking job from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., then a few more hours of sleep, then start again. But it still wasn't enough, so he got a third job, weekend landscaping, Saturday and Sunday mornings before his regular shifts. 3 jobs, 80-plus hours a week, for 4 months. And he never told me. I flew to Charleston on Friday morning. Daniel drove me to the airport at 4 a.m. He looked tired, exhausted, really, but he blamed it on not sleeping well. "I'll be fine," he said when I asked. "Just focus on your mom. I'll be here when you get back." I kissed him goodbye. I told him I loved him. I had no idea what he was about to do for me. Let me stop here, because this is the part of the story where everything changed, where I found out who Daniel really was. Where I understood, finally, what love actually looks like. It's not grand gestures. It's not expensive gifts. It's not words spoken in perfect moments. It's sacrifice. It's working until your body breaks because the person you love needs something you can't afford to give. It's carrying a burden in silence because you don't want them to feel guilty. It's putting their needs so far ahead of your own that you forget you have needs at all. That's what Daniel did for me. And I didn't know. For months, I didn't know. Type sacrifice in the comments if this part of the story hits different, because we're about to get to my mother. And what happened in that hospital room. And the last words she ever spoke. Charleston looked exactly the same. The same tree-lined streets. The same historic houses. The same church steeples poking up against the sky. But nothing felt the same. I was a stranger here now. A ghost visiting a life I used to live. The cab dropped me at the hospital. Medical University of South Carolina. A building I'd never been to, in a city I once called home. I stood outside for 10 minutes before I could make myself go in. What was I going to say? "Hi, Mom. Remember me? The daughter you told to never come back?" "Hi, Dad. How's that silent treatment working out for you?" I didn't have the right words. I didn't know if the right words existed, but I went in anyway. The oncology ward was on the 4th floor. I found my mother's room at the end of a long hallway. The door was open, and there she was. My mother had always been a beautiful woman. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect clothes. Even when she was just going to the grocery store, she looked like she was ready for a magazine shoot. But the woman in that hospital bed was a skeleton wearing my mother's face. Thin, so thin. Her cheekbones jutted out. Her arms were like sticks. Her hair, that beautiful hair she'd always been so proud of, was gone. She was sleeping, or unconscious. I couldn't tell. And beside her bed, sitting in an uncomfortable plastic chair, was my father. He looked up when I walked in. For a long moment, Neither of us spoke. He looked older, smaller. The powerful man who had pointed at the door and told me to leave was gone. In his place was someone broken. "You came," he said. "Reverend Walker called me. I asked him to. I didn't think you'd come if it was me." "You were right." Silence. "She's been asking for you," he said. "Every day. Sometimes she thinks you're here. She talks to you when no one's in the room." I looked at my mother, this shell of a woman who used to run my life. "How long?" "Days. Maybe a week, if we're lucky." "And you waited until now to call me?" His face crumpled. "I didn't think you'd want to know. After everything, I thought you hated us." "I don't hate you. I never hated you. You should. We deserve it." I didn't respond to that, because, honestly, part of me agreed with him. I sat down on the other side of my mother's bed. I took her hand, so frail, so cold, and I waited. My father and I didn't talk. We just sat there, watching her breathe, waiting for her to wake up. After an hour, she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, pale blue. Confused at first, then she saw me. "Emma?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Hi, Mom." Tears started streaming down her face. "You came. You actually came." "I came." She tried to sit up. She couldn't. She was too weak. "I have so much to tell you," she said. "So much I need to say." "It's okay, Mom. Rest. I'm here now." "No. I need to say it now. Before it's too late." She gripped my hand with surprising strength. "I was wrong, Emma. About everything. About Daniel. About you. About what matters in life. Mom, let me finish. Please, I need to say this." I nodded. And my mother, the woman who had controlled every aspect of my life, who had rejected me for loving the wrong man, who had spent 12 years pretending I didn't exist, finally told me the truth. "I grew up poor," she said. "Did I ever tell you that?" "No." "My father was a factory worker. My mother cleaned houses. We never had enough. Not for food, not for clothes, not for anything. I didn't know any of this." She had never talked about her childhood. "When I was 16, I met your father. He was from a good family, money, status, everything I'd never had. And I thought if I marry him, I'll never be poor again. I'll never have to worry." She coughed, weak, rattling. "So I became what he needed me to be, the perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the perfect Mitchell. I remade myself completely. And somewhere along the way, I forgot who I was." She looked at me with those dying eyes. "When you brought Daniel home, I didn't see him. I saw my father. I saw the factory worker. I saw poverty and struggle and everything I had spent my whole life running from. Daniel isn't poor. He works hard. I know that now. I know. But back then, all I could see was what he didn't have, not what he did have." She squeezed my hand harder. "You know what I realized, Emma? When they told me I had 6 months to live?" "What?" "None of it mattered. The money, the status, the perfect life. None of it. Your father and I have everything. The house, the cars, the reputation, and we've been miserable. We've been miserable for years. I didn't know, because we hid it, like we hid everything. But now I'm dying, and I can't hide anymore. And the only thing I want, the only thing that matters, is you, my daughter, the one I pushed away." She started crying again. Harder this time. "I wasted 12 years. 12 years I could have spent watching you build a life. Watching you be happy. Maybe even knowing your children, if you have them someday. We don't have kids yet, but we've talked about it. I won't meet them. I won't be at their birthday parties or their graduations or their weddings, because I chose pride over love. I chose being right over being a mother. Mom, I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm so, so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" I didn't know what to say. For 12 years, I had imagined this moment. I had imagined my mother apologizing. I had imagined feeling vindicated, triumphant, finally proven right. But sitting there, holding her hand, watching her die, I didn't feel any of those things. I just felt sad. Sad for her. Sad for me. Sad for all the years we lost because neither of us was willing to budge. "I forgive you," I said, and I meant it. Not because she deserved it. Not because her apology was enough to undo 12 years of silence, but because I was tired. Tired of carrying the anger. Tired of being defined by what my parents did to me. I forgave her so I could be free. The next 3 days were the most painful of my life. I sat with my mother almost around the clock. My father came and went. He couldn't handle seeing her like that for too long. But I stayed. We talked when she was awake. She asked about my life in Denver, about my job, about Daniel. She asked so many questions about Daniel. What's his favorite food? Italian. He makes this pasta from his grandmother's recipe. It's amazing. Does he take care of you? Really take care of you? Yes, Mom. Better than anyone ever has. She smiled. Weak, but real. Good. That's all I wanted. I just couldn't see it. On the third night, she took a turn. The doctors said it would be soon. Hours, maybe. My father called Reverend Walker. He came and said prayers. My mother drifted in and out of consciousness. Around 2 a.m., she woke up for the last time. Emma, I'm here, Mom. Tell Daniel something for me. What? She looked at me with those pale eyes, so much like mine. Tell him I was wrong. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him he's the best thing that ever happened to you. And I missed it. I missed all of it. Her hand went limp, her eyes closed, and my mother was gone. The funeral was 4 days later. I called Daniel after my mother died. He said he would fly out for the funeral. You don't have to do that. I said, after how they treated you, they're your family, and you need me. I'm coming. He arrived the day before the service. When I saw him at the airport, I ran into his arms and cried. But something was wrong. He looked terrible, thin, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. Daniel, are you okay? I'm fine, just tired. Don't worry about me. I didn't push it. I was too overwhelmed with grief to process anything else. But after the funeral, after we flew back to Denver, I started noticing things. Daniel was never home. When I woke up, he was gone. When I went to sleep, he wasn't back yet. Where are you going? I asked one morning. Work. But it's 5 a.m. Early shift. Something wasn't right. I found out the truth by accident. 3 days after we got home, I stopped by the grocery store on my way back from work. It was late, almost 11 p.m., but I needed milk for the morning. And there, in the stockroom, visible through the swinging doors, I saw my husband, stacking boxes, wearing a store uniform. I stood there, frozen, watching him work. He looked exhausted. He was moving slowly, like every motion cost him something. I pushed through the doors. Daniel? He turned around. And the look on his face, guilt, exhaustion, love broke my heart. Emma, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. He put down the box he was holding. I was going to tell you. Tell me what? Why are you working at a grocery store? Because we needed the money. For what? For your flight, for your hotels, for the time off work. For everything, Emma. I stared at him. Daniel, we talked about this. You said you would figure it out. I assumed you meant a credit card, or I didn't want us to start our next chapter with debt, so I got extra jobs. Jobs? Plural? 3. I've been working 3 jobs for the past 4 months. My regular job during the day, this job at night, landscaping on weekends. I couldn't breathe. 4 months? You've been working around the clock for 4 months? You needed to say goodbye to your mother, Emma. That's all that mattered. Daniel, you're destroying yourself. I'm fine. You're not fine. Look at you. You've lost weight. You haven't slept properly in months. I stopped. Because I was crying too hard to speak. He stepped forward. He wrapped his arms around me. Emma, listen to me. I would do it again. 100 times. 1,000 times. You needed to be there when your mother died. You needed to hear her apologize. You needed closure. And I was the only one who could give it to you. But why didn't you tell me? Because you would have said no. You would have insisted on paying for it yourself, or not going at all. And I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let you live with that regret. I held him. This man who worked 3 jobs so I could hold my mother's hand. This man who sacrificed his health, his sleep, his sanity, so I could say goodbye. This man my parents had called useless. We went home that night. I made him quit both extra jobs the next day. But here's the thing. The money he earned in those 4 months covered everything. The flights, the hotels, the food, the time off work. All of it. He had worked himself to the bone so that I wouldn't have a single thing to worry about during the worst week of my life. And he had done it in secret because he didn't want me to feel guilty. A week after we got home, I found something in my mother's belongings. She had given me a box before she died. "Open it when you're ready," she said. I finally opened it. Inside was a letter. And a check. The letter said, "Dear Emma and Daniel, I know I can never make up for 12 years of silence. I know no amount of money can undo the damage I caused. But I want you to have this. It's my inheritance from my own mother, money I kept secret from everyone, even your father. I never spent it because I was saving it for something important. Now I know what that something is. Use it for your future, for a house, for children, for whatever dreams you have. And Daniel, I know you're reading this with her. I know you're the kind of man who will try to refuse. Don't. This isn't charity. This is a mother finally seeing what her daughter saw all along. You are not useless. You never were. You are the man who loved my daughter when I wouldn't. The man who worked 3 jobs so she could say goodbye to me. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I hope, someday, you'll understand why I was so afraid. Take care of her. I know you will. With love and regret, Linda." The check was for $150,000. I read that letter to Daniel. We both cried. "She knew about the jobs," he said. "How did she know?" "I think Reverend Walker told her." "He must have found out somehow." Daniel looked at the check. "We can't accept this." "Yes, we can. And we will. Because she wanted us to have it. Because it's the only way she could apologize to you." He was quiet for a long time. "She called me useless," he said. "For 12 years, that's what she thought of me. But that's not what she died thinking. She died knowing who you really are. She died grateful that you were in my life." He took my hand. "Is that enough? Does that make up for everything?" "No. Nothing makes up for 12 years, but it's a start. And starting is all we can do. It's been a year since my mother died. A year since I stood in that hospital room and heard her last words. A year since I found out what Daniel did for me. So much has changed. We bought a house, a real house, with a backyard and a garage and a room we've started calling the nursery, even though it's empty. Because I'm pregnant, 12 weeks. A little girl. And we're going to name her Linda. My father and I are talking again. It's not easy. There's too much history. Too many wounds that haven't fully healed. But he calls every Sunday. He asks about my life. He asked about the pregnancy and cried when I told him. "A granddaughter," he said. "I'm going to have a granddaughter." "Yes. And Dad?" "She's going to know you. She's going to know her grandfather." He was quiet for a long moment. I don't deserve that. After everything, maybe not. But Mom died with regrets. She died wishing she had more time. I don't want that for either of us. We're taking it slowly. Rebuilding piece by piece. I don't know if we'll ever be close. But we're trying. And trying is more than we had for 12 years. Daniel is still working his electrician job. Just the one job now. He's fully recovered from those brutal 4 months. But something changed in him. He used to feel like he had something to prove. Like he needed to earn his place in my life. Like being the guy from Georgia somehow made him less than. He doesn't feel that way anymore. "Your mom saw me," he said recently. At the end, she finally saw me. She did. I didn't need her approval, but it felt good to have it. It felt good to know that she knew I wasn't what she thought. You were never what she thought. I know that now. I think I always knew it. But there was this voice in my head, her voice, your father's voice saying I wasn't good enough. And finally, that voice is quiet. I kissed him. "You were always good enough. You were always more than enough. You're the man who worked 3 jobs so I could say goodbye to my mother. That's who you are. That's who we are. Together." I went back to Charleston last month. I visited my mother's grave. I brought flowers, pink roses, her favorites. I sat there for a long time, talking to her. I told her about the house, about the pregnancy, about Dad and how he's trying. And I told her about Daniel. You were wrong about him, Mom. But you knew that at the end. And I think if you'd given him a chance, you would have loved him too. Because he's exactly what you said I needed. Someone who takes care of me. Someone who puts me first. Someone who would do anything for me. I placed the flowers on her grave. I miss you. Even after everything, I miss you. I wish you could meet your granddaughter. I wish you could see me be a mother. The wind rustled through the trees, but I know you're watching, somewhere. And I know you're finally proud of me. Not for marrying the right man or having the right job or living the right life, just for being happy, just for being me. I stood up. I wiped my tears. I love you, Mom. I'll always love you. And I walked away. If you're watching this tonight, and you're in the middle of a family conflict, if you haven't spoken to your parents, your siblings, your children in years, if there are words you need to say but you're too scared to say them, please, don't wait. I almost missed my chance to say goodbye. If Daniel hadn't worked 3 jobs, if I hadn't been able to afford that flight, if I had let pride win one more time, I would have lost my mother without ever hearing her apology. And I would have carried that regret forever. Life is too short for silence. Life is too short for grudges. Life is too short to pretend people don't matter to you when they do. Pick up the phone, write the letter, book the flight, because someday, maybe sooner than you think, it will be too late. And if you're watching this tonight, and you have a partner who loves you, someone who shows up for you even when it's hard, someone who sacrifices without being asked, someone the world might overlook but you know is extraordinary, hold on to them. Tell them you see them. Tell them they matter. Tell them that what they do, the quiet, unglamorous, everyday acts of love, is not useless. It's everything. Daniel Collins is not a rich man. He doesn't have a famous name, or a powerful family, or any of the things my parents thought mattered. But he gave me something no amount of money could buy. He gave me the chance to say goodbye to my mother. That's not useless. That's love. Before I go, I want to read you the last thing I wrote about my mother. I wrote it on the 1-year anniversary of her death. I never shared it with anyone until now. Mom, a year ago, you told me you were sorry. You told me you wasted 12 years. You told me to tell Daniel he was the best thing that ever happened to me. I told him. He cried. We're having a baby now, a girl. We're naming her Linda, after you. I know you won't be there when she's born. I know you won't be at her first birthday, or her first day of school, or her wedding someday, but she'll know you. I'll make sure of it. I'll tell her about her grandmother who wasn't perfect but who loved fiercely in her own way. I'll tell her about the woman who finally said she was wrong, who found the courage to apologize when it was almost too late. I'll tell her that family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. It's about trying. It's about saying, I'm sorry even when it's hard. And I'll tell her about Daniel, her father. The man who worked 3 jobs so I could hold your hand. The man you called useless. The man who gave me everything. I love you, Mom. I'll always love you. Your daughter, Emma, sweet dreams, everyone. And if someone in your life has ever doubted the person you love, tell them this story. Because sometimes the people who seem useless are the ones who save us, in ways we never expected, in ways we don't deserve. That's what love looks like.